place to promote the growth of Tigres in English through analysis, discussions, interviews, and more. Welcome to the Lautimes podcast. And we are so back. What a weekend. What a Sunday night we had as a Tigres fan base for all the reasons. And we will get into all of that tonight here on Lautimes, the only Tigres podcast in English. There's no others that I'm aware of. So we're the only ones doing it, and I'm pretty sure we're the only ones doing it right. I'm Dennis, producer, and once again, apparently, the host. And happy to be joined tonight by the full entire crew, minus Edgar, but he's joining us here in a little bit. But everybody else is here. So that means the real man of the show, even though he's not hosting tonight, I don't know though, is here, live from, I don't know, some secret location. Alfred is also... Viva, you're still in Vegas, okay. Alfred is also back from all his travels. Lou is standing by for us in Austin, as he always is. And across the pond, after his power nap, Woodsy's here as well. How are we?
Fantastic, bro. This
Great.
is lovely.
Excellent.
I don't think we've had a full showing to start off the pod, and we got Double O Nation joining. So excited to discuss. I got a couple of things to share from my trip here in Las Vegas. Nothing spectacular, but has to do with the game and somebody that I ran into downstairs. But pretty excited about discuss what we got going on tonight.
You don't have to share how much money you lost. You can keep that private. It's fine.
Not a gambler, so we're good.
Or one.
Sure, that's what they all say. But then again, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? Anywho, we already have 26 people on, which is wonderful. So if you're watching right now on Twitter or YouTube live, thanks for being here. Come hang out in the chat. We love when y'all come hang out in the chat and interact and drop your takes. So please come hang out. If you're listening on podcast later, thank you for being here as well. Okay, well, there's only one place to start, and that would be with this series that we just finished up, that the team just finished up over the weekend. Quarterfinal matchup against Necaxa. Final score on Sunday, Tigres 2, Necaxa 2. Tigres advancing via league position into the semifinals, and we will talk about the semifinal matchup later. But my, oh my, the second half of that game on Sunday, where do we even begin? I'm going to read the outline piece that our lovely man Edgar wrote for us, and hopefully he'll join us here in the next few minutes. Here's what he set the mood with this game. Los Incomparables had quite the start to Liguilla, with many moments of action, frustration, and as always, suspense y sufrimiento. The home match in El Volcán was quite the 180 from the first leg in Aguascalientes, where a goalless draw on the road transformed into a close call for Profe Pizarro's crew. Now it's time for us to break down all the key moments and pieces of that quarterfinal matchup. Okay, so I'm looking at the lineups. I don't know who put the lineups on here. I'm assuming it's Alfred, because Alfred's been on top of his game today. So thank you, Alfred. The changes between Sunday and Thursday was that there was a tiny bit of a formation change. Romulo came in on Sunday after not appearing on Thursday. Ociel came in. Vigon was in on Thursday and he didn't play on Sunday. Loroña played on Thursday, didn't play on Sunday. Joaquim came back after his injury. Lots of changes here and there. I'll just keep it to Sunday because Thursday, it was kind of a snooze fest of a game. We easily could have been scored on for sure, but it wasn't that exciting. So I'm gonna kick it over to the man who knows his stats and his tactics more than anybody else, I'd say, on the show, Mr. Lou Pop. My friend, tell me your thoughts on the lineups between Thursday and Sunday, and let's try to focus it on Sunday. And what were you thinking going into that very late match on Sunday night?
I thought it was a good move by Pizarro to go with four in the back for this game. We're at home. I think we can take more risk. The team looked more dynamic. Uh, After the first leg, I felt like we needed a spark in the midfield, just another piece to kind of help on the attack. We were very stale that first game, unfortunately. Uh, Thankfully, our defense was solid, and Will had a really good night. And that 0-0 basically sealed the whole thing for us. I knew going into the second leg, Necaxa was going to have a really hard time beating us at home, and that ended up being the case. So good move by Pizarro to go with four in the back. I was a little bit disappointed with Javier Aquino and his performance. I thought he got cooked all night. There was a few players that didn't play that great, but overall, I think the squad looked a lot better. We were more dynamic. We were taking more shots, more entrances into the final third, and on paper, I think we outplayed them for most of the night. I think after the goal, we sort of slowed the pace down. We got a little complacent. But overall, I think the boys had a good night, and I think we deserved the draw and to move on.
Let's talk the everything leading up to the crazy last goal. Alfred, I'll kick this over to you because I know you were super active in the chat during the game, so you had really good eyes on it. Thoughts on Bruneta's goal, the golazo they had to tie it, and then the second goal that they scored. Just kind of all those plays leading up to what ended up being a really crazy ending.
Well, first of all, props to Necaxa. And I know we're getting a lot of hate on the internet right now, with the whole VAR decision on that last play, and then Necaxa should have moved on. But I think, if we're being fair, both teams had their opportunities. We had plenty of chances. Maybe not on goal because there practically wasn't any shots on goal. But I think Linus and Ociel were doing a very good job of, getting to the end line, creating opportunities for us that unfortunately just, the last touch or, whoever ended up receiving the ball, just wasn't making the right decisions. Even up to the goal, I mean, Bruneta's goal, we could say was fairly lucky because somebody's leg popped in and made the goal go over the keeper. But aside from that, I mean, like I said, I feel like we both played well. Both teams played well. Whenever we had our chances, it felt like the goal was coming. And then whenever Necaxa, got in the game, and I think Larcamon did well. He did some good changes that, especially in that second half, caused Necaxa to pretty much control the game for a good chunk of the second half, and that's when their goals came in. Obviously, I've had nice things to say about Palevecino. I wish maybe it's a player that in any other circumstances we would definitely welcome at Tigres. But at the same time, they have other players that were making a difference, and like Lou said, we're even making some of our players look bad. So I don't think we faced a bad team. We faced a really good team. If I'm not mistaken, it was either the second or third best offense of the season. Obviously, we neutralized Cambindo, which that's great. But they had other players to score with. So when we went down 2-1, I really thought that we weren't going to get back up because it didn't seem like it. At least Ibanez, hasn't been on his game. Bruneta, even though he scored, he wasn't having a good game. So it seemed really hard that we were going to be able to get back in the game and get that tie. But luckily, Nahuel came in. That's all I have to say.
I don't know. They'll kick it to you. First of all, just tell us your experience of watching that game in Vegas, and then, yeah, just your thoughts on everything leading up to the chaos at the end, and how you were feeling in like the 88th, 89th minute before all of that went down.
Well, that's perfect timing because I landed in Vegas on Sunday around 4 p.m. and after getting checked in and whatnot, getting situated, I had dinner and I got ready to watch the game. I watched the first half. It's on Estrella TV. As you guys know, when Tigres plays home, unless you have Fox Sports on the YouTube TV app or Fubo, you're not going to get that match. So I had to watch it on Estrella TV. So that means I couldn't watch it on the TV here in my hotel room. So I had to watch it on my iPad. So I was in bed. I watched the first half. I was falling asleep. The first half ended. I definitely fell asleep, and I woke up in the
It was
81st minute.
early for you.
Yeah, but I was jet lagged, bro, and the time difference, and I had stayed up the previous night on Saturday night. Remember, you guys were
Hey,
thinking
welcome
that
to
I
the
was.
club, Aldo. Welcome to the club.
Dennis was asking where was I on Saturday night. I was tucked in bed watching shows, so I stayed up pretty late before my flight on Sunday. So I fell asleep at the end of the first half, and I woke up in the 81st minute, and I woke up to us a 1-1 match, and then I saw in the 85th minute Necaxa scored. I felt that it was coming. Throughout the first half, I thought that the energy was very high in the first 20 minutes. I think that we were working the game, being aggressive, like you guys have both pointed out, and I think that the wing play was very, very above average than what we've been used to. I was very surprised, and I want to kick it off to Lou again to sort of like break down a little bit more as to what made the change. Obviously, we're at home. The four man of the back happened, but I guess I was very surprised that having played five in the back for basically since he took over as a coach, we went to a back line of four. But nonetheless, when it was a perfect timing for me to start watching. I knew that we were going to have a couple of chances to score. Pello Maldonado obviously called it right before the play happened that it was going to happen with Nahuel hopping in on that play. Mind you, beating three defenders on him, was able to make contact, and everything came about with that play. I'll just leave it that it could have gone either way. In my opinion, I think that the foul could have been called more so on the Ibanez, but not so much on the first play on the little push or shove, because I think that's a normal play. And when it's slowed down, I think Lou talked about it on his timeline. It makes it seem more dramatic than it is, but that's a soccer play. The little shoving, it's not any worse than when they, running down the end line and you go and shove somebody shoulder to shoulder and you throw them off. So I think that if you wanted to get like very critical, the Ibanez could have been a foul, but I think it was time. It was time for us to gotten favor on a play, and I don't think it was necessarily the intention. I'm happy with the way that we advanced? No, but I think that Tigres is made for big moments. I think that even though our roster and our squad is not the best that it has been, or what we've been used to from the era of like when Gignac first arrived till about 2021, it's still one of the best squads in the league with young talent, still fully needed to develop, and to raise the expectations of these young boys, because if not, they're going to stay complacent, and it's always going to be like the what if scenario would happen with Ociel if he didn't get hurt, or Linus if he would have made better decision, or Marcelo if he would have made the better play. So I think it's time that these guys step up, and luckily enough, we were able to advance and figure out a way to win at the end, even with the controversial VAR call. But like I said, I think it was time to favor us. But yeah, it was a pretty interesting story for me. So that was the first part of what I wanted to share. I fell asleep during the match, but I woke up at the right time, and after that, I couldn't go to sleep for quite a bit of time. So I was up till about 3 a.m. Vegas time, so about 5 Houston time. So it ended up not working out in my favor, but I enjoyed it. I think it's what we need to be used to as a fan of this club, watching this team in the final instances, not in the quarterfinals like we had to exit last season. I think semifinals is always the expectations. Obviously, we always want the championship, but sometimes there's better teams, and I think Necaxa definitely earns all the respect. Larcamon just continues to show that he's an excellent coach for the league and definitely deserves a shot at a bigger club with more money to invest in players. But Necaxa always finds hidden gems, so props to them. It was a good series, especially the second match, and exciting. It had drama, it had options of attacking, it had defensive flashes, goalie flashes. So that shot that Ociel Herrera had and the goalie saved, fantastic. So I think overall great match for as a fan and being the last match of the series for the quarterfinals. You couldn't have asked for more. Even if people don't believe that we don't matter outside of Nuevo León, we got the whole country talking about a team that supposedly nobody cares about.
You weren't the only guy on this little group of 5 that was asleep at some point during the match. I watched the first half in my little living room over there, and then I watched the second half because it was late, and I was like, I need to wind down. So I watched the second half here in my room, just laying down in bed, and I fell asleep. I don't remember what minute, but I woke up like 2 minutes after Necaxa scored, and like it didn't hit me that they'd scored. I just like looked and I was like, oh, okay, they're still playing. Like I thought the game was over. And then I see chaos. Like I see Nahuel go up. It's like, why is he going up? And that's when I woke up, like right before the crazy goal. Just realizing, oh crap, we're about to get eliminated. Like what is happening? So I guess you and I shared that similar experience of snoozing through part of the match. So
What I guess my question from that moment, Dennis, especially for both of us coming in at that specific time, and the rest of you guys watching the actual game, what were you guys like feeling? Like I felt like after the second goal that Necaxa scores to go up, like I had a full range of emotions of like, well, I mean, it's time to regroup. We've been talking about the off season being a big off season for us, and with Guido Pizarro taking over, I felt like I was sort of had made peace with the fact that if we did get eliminated in that moment, that it wasn't the end of the world, because I think it's been time that Tigres fully gets a revamp for a roster.
I've come to the
I want to
realization
say,
that. Go ahead, Alfred.
before you say, Lucas, I want to actually lead you into the conversation, because I want you to talk about the subs. I want to say that Pizarro's was really tested in this game, because he was about to basically, put the tu camion in the back, with the changes that he was going to make right before the Necaxa goal. Necaxa scores, and he changes up what he was going to do. So, leading up to the Necaxa goal and the way the team was playing, it seemed like it was like tragedia was coming. Like, why are we taking care of a 1-1 draw when it's, whoever scores, is gonna take it. You know what I mean? So, Luke.
Yeah, I'm with you, Alfred. I think Pizarro has shown his rookie moments throughout the season, right? He showed it against America. Like Giardini really took it to him in that America blowout game, and he's been outcoached several times. I think in this series, especially that second leg, he's been getting beat with the subs. I think Larcamon had the better subs, and it showed, right? Like they were getting sparks and we didn't, and so I think he's gonna have to learn as he goes. But as far like you could see momentum shifting after our first goal, and them taking control of the game, and you could see that ultimately it was going to end up in that, right? They were going to score to go ahead, and then there was going to have to be a response from us. What I was going to mention is that I've gotten to the point where I get a really good gauge of this squad from what the folks in the stands are doing. And if the energy is really high in the stands, I feel like there's always that spark that we're gonna come back. And so I felt it after they scored. I felt that energy from the stands, from the crowd, and I was like, I think they're gonna make a comeback. Like I didn't feel like it was over. Like I never felt like, oh man, we're out of it. It just felt like we're gonna have to like make a huge push. And I just felt it. Like I was like, it's coming. And I like when I heard Peyos say, "This reminds me of the Alianza game in CONCACAF." I was thinking the same thing. I was like, it's gonna be one of those moments again. And so I knew that we had a little something left to be able to tie that game up. It felt like the whole time I was like, nah, we're not gonna lose at home, man. We're not gonna lose at home. We're gonna pull through. And sure enough, it was a miracle, but we got it done. And it was a miracle that call didn't go against us either. I think any other night, I think the crowd might have influenced that decision a little bit. I think the crowd was right there. Like I think he could feel that energy. The ref could probably feel that push from the stands, and might have swayed him in the direction that he took.
No complaints here. No complaints here. We were always on the wrong end of stuff. Like I don't know what I said earlier. We needed some favor, finally, for once. But I don't know.
Honestly, dude, I'm happy everybody's talking about us. I really am. Like, I'm the more
Dude.
the more our name gets put out, the better.
Dude,
Like, I like it.
You've got the country talking about us. You've got a ton of people throughout the world talking about us because of a certain thing that we're going to talk about later, a certain transfer. Like, Tigres is the talk. When you're big, you're big. Again, when you're big, you're big. That's all I got to say. Woodsy,
I
help
want to
us
hear
make
what Woods
sense.
had to say about the VAR, but about that
Yeah.
VAR decision.
Help
Just
us
And,
what's the difference
and
between
Diego Reyes.
And yes,
And
Diego Reyes' cameo at the 99th minute or whatever. Yeah, help us make sense of that whole play of that last goal and what your thoughts on it being a foul or not being a foul as somebody who's, on the other side like of the world. Like what did that look like to you in the moment?
Yeah, I appreciate bringing up the Allianz again, by the way, Louis. That was the birth of a new Tigres fan. I'll always remember that one. And yeah, so as for, I don't know what, obviously, we're going to get talked about with Tigres Football Club. It's the norm, it's inevitable. Personally, you know how I'm like. I'm always going to call everything as I see, whether it's forwards against us. I'm going to do plenty of that in this show, so you won't be missing anything. I personally don't have a fucking clue what Alejandro Mayorga was moaning about, whinging at the ref. Like, so for the winning goal, when Purata got in there, he's not kicked the ball out the keeper's hands. He's not done anything cynical. No one's really done anything cynical when you look at it. Even the Nahuel push, is look. Hussein picked the ball up. He kicked the ball out his own fucking keeper's hands. He's just tapped it in an empty net. What are you complaining about? You've done it to your fucking self. Don't look at anyone else but yourself. Exactly. But that's just how I anticipated it. I actually had a sort of opposite situation to Arnaldo in terms of what I was watching. I was up. I was sort of watching on my couch downstairs. Sorry, things just froze off a bit there. Yeah, sorry. So I was watching it downstairs, just on the sofa, just sort of half asleep. But I was watching up until around, I'd say, the 70th, 80th minute, and opposite to Loz, I actually dozed off around the 80th minute. He woke up on the 80th minute. That's when I actually fell asleep, and I fell asleep when it was 1-1. So I thought the game was starting to die. The game was starting to die down around that sort of time, sort of the 70th, 80th minute. So I thought, fuck it, we're probably through anyways. I can't see. So then I wake up, first thing I do, check the score, and I see 2-2. I'm like, okay. And then I see the I see the 90+7 own goal. I'm like, you what? The first thing I've done, I'm right on the highlights. I'm right on the highlights. But yeah, that's basically my full opinion on the controversial goal. But from a tactical standpoint, I mean, yeah, I was going to bring it up. You lot have already pretty much cracked it, the last minute formation change. I mean, one last thing I do got to confront as well. Alfred, do you think Brunetta had a shit game?
Yes, absolutely.
Are you sure?
I disagree. I think most of
no,
us
he had
agree.
he had a great game.
I thought it was our man of the
Stats say otherwise, obviously.
I know football's not played on stats. Can I just, goal aside, can I just read you out some stats here, Brunetto? 29 completed passes, 4 key passes in total of them, 3 accurate crosses, 4 accurate long balls, a big chance created. Are you sure?
4 chances created, 8 passes into the final third. He was a monster. He was great. Honestly, I think he was the best outside of Noel. I think he was the best field player for us.
I will say,
I agree. He was my man of the match.
He didn't start that great. He grew into the game, but like for the second part of the first half and obviously the second half, he was good. He really was. So I understand Alfred's point of view, but yeah, he had a good game.
To me, Aquino was the big disappointment this entire series.
Yeah.
I feel like. Yeah. And then that's the one concern I have going into the Toluca game as well, is Aquino as consistent as he's been for us, he's been very poor these last few games.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, I mean, the goal, I don't understand why there's so much controversy. I mean, Woods, I think you nailed that on the head, like super, super well. There was nothing. It was just like It was just an unfortunate situation for them, right? Like the ball just didn't bounce their way. Essentially, there wasn't anything malicious going on. I think about something that happened earlier in the day. I'm bringing up your team, Woodsy. When in the Liverpool Arsenal game on Sunday, on that one of the last plays of the game where it looked like Robertson had
I weren't
scored.
watching that. I weren't watching that piece of shit. I weren't watching us giving
fair.
you a
That's
fucking
fair.
guard of honor.
That's fair. But the reason why that goal got called off is because Konate is like grabbing, I can't remember if it was Lewis Skelly or somebody else. He like basically like ripped his face off or tried to rip his face off. It's like, okay, like that's the stuff that needs to get called back for goals. Not like, a missed kick or a bounce of the ball that gets off the goalie and he doesn't handle it well. Like that's on the goalie. It's not on anybody else, right? So there was seriously nothing wrong with the goal, in my opinion, right? And I'm trying not to be super biased, but genuinely, like even if that was like, I don't know, if that was Cruz Azul versus León and León scores that, it's like, okay, I don't see anything wrong with that. Like there wasn't anything to really like justify the sort of like outcry that everybody has. Maybe it's because nobody wants Tigres to do anything, but I don't know. Like I just don't think it was worth the amount of discourse that we ended up having on
The
Sunday.
reason there's so much discourse is because there is an agenda, right, against this team.
Exactly.
And so, obviously it starts with the neighbors. The neighbors create a big push, and then everybody other team that hates us, America and even Chivas and every other team that hates us, all pile it on. We wouldn't be having this conversation if it was any other, had it been León, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It's Tigres, and there's an agenda, and there's a certain amount of propaganda trying to get spread around. But the truth of the matter is, the ref was right in front of the play when it happened live, and he had no issue with it whatsoever.
Exactly.
The line judge, who's 25 yards out, calls a foul on the goalkeeper because he thought he had handled the ball and had kept it in his hands, and the ball had been kicked out of his hands. So the call on the field was that the ball was kicked out of his hands while he had it in his possession. And so when it got reviewed, there was nothing there. I mean, if you have an issue with the keeper coming out and hitting Ibanez, then you should have an issue with the goal that Necaxa scored on the second one, where the guy clearly, framed and pushed off on Aquino to be able to get a header in. So these same people are not using the same standards, right? Like they have an issue because Ibanez's leg might have touched the goalkeeper's ribs, but they have no issue with the push off on the other end for Necaxa's second goal. So you could tell there's definitely an agenda there.
And it starts with like you remember when back in the day America had Cuauhtémoc Blanco, and everybody hated Cuauhtémoc Blanco on America. So you have a player in our on our side of our story. We have a player like André Pierre Gignac, who destroyed the league literally year after year, goal after goal, championship after championship, moment after moment. And then you couple that with you have a goalie that you can't score on and wins you championships with penalty kick saves, fantastic saves, a whole championship against the Club León. So not only is it easy, it's easy to hate on the team for the success that they've accumulated as a club. Then you have monsters, and typically you have one monster on a decade team, like that other teams have had, but you have two, and then you have a leader who turned out to be your coach, and everybody wants to hate on the story because everybody wants Guido Pizarro to fail because no, a player should not be the coach, and they have kidnapped the locker room and they're the dictators in the club, and that's how Tuca Ferretti was too, and he had the keys to the club. So it's just an easy narrative to go by. And then you couple that with something controversial on the field. It's like, why would I want to face that team? Right? It doesn't even become about like the talent equalness on the field. It's just like, I don't want to play Tigres because they have players that could potentially like pull it out because they have a monster at goal. Like there's no question in my mind that we have the best goalkeeper in the history of the Liga MX. And I can back it up with stats. There's amounts of games that he has shutouts. There's championships. There's moments. There's just a lot of things to top that with. And I think that it's just the easy narrative to talk about in a negative way because why would you throw flowers at a team that won it all over a decade and you had to bite the bullet and talk so gladly or so great about, and now you have the chance to possibly push them in the negative way, but they're still sticking around. Their old players are still somehow pushing on and giving you a championship here and there, making a semifinal here and there, and like it just becomes a narrative again that it's just easy to hate on, and that's fantastic for the brand, obviously, and I think that as a fan, obviously, like I mentioned, we want the championship, but it's hard, and I've always said it, and I will continue to always emphasize it. Like they got us used to winning so many championships, and that's hard to sustain, and for us to still be around, that's an excellent achievement, and we can hate on the board and the bad decisions that they make, which rightfully so, they make sometimes terrible decisions, but at the player level, at least the players that have given us all, they still somehow find a way. Even with Aquino having a bad game, he's still one of the better right backs at 35 years old, and wasn't even his natural position. And here we are, like sometimes claiming Carioca to come back on the field because we don't have the balance that we get when he's not on the field. So I think that overall, the players have given more beyond what the expectation was, a few years ago, and even when they first arrived.
Add to that,
To add on to that first take,
Arnoldo, is that the neighbors got bounced in such an embarrassing fashion as well, right?
Right.
So you get bounced versus playing 80 minutes against a 10-man team with all the money you invested, and then you get rejected by all these coaches, and you're having the worst weekend of your life. How easy it is to just say, hey, let's talk about these guys and the bad refereeing because we don't want to talk about the dumpster fire that's our team. You know what I'm saying?
Bro,
Like it's the only way they can get out of it. It's like, hey, let's just talk about this refereeing decision because we really don't want to address the issues that we're having at home.
Bro, it's so comical because it's like pobrecitos, bro. It's not even like I never necessarily grew with the hey like fuck Rayados or like because I was more invested in my team, and during a little bit of my teenage years and as I got into my early 20s, even like mid 20s, like I didn't want them to win, but now it's like, bro, it's such an embarrassment. Like, I feel bad for them. Like, as a organization, like they have to find reason after reason to somehow validate their shitty like club situation, player situation, and coach situation and hardware situation day after day. And the only way to validate that is to like figure out a way to hate on the other team, but the other team that, everything supposedly has gone bad for them over the last few years continues to stick around. And it's so pathetic to a point where it's like it's so funny, but at the same time it's like it's we gotta get out of this bubble of like Rayados is something that we need to compare ourselves to. And like it's funny coming
yeah.
across on the timeline and like how people engage sometimes and get caught in like arguing with the other fan base. I troll just because I like trolling and I enjoy.
Ronaldo.
I don't necessarily go out and argue with one of them because it's like, why, dude? Like you literally are in shambles, and we are somehow still figuring out a way to restructure our club and revamp, and we still again stick around. So it starts with them locally, and it starts with them now being part of the Televisa or TUDN family, and therefore that gets pushed over to the national media and then gets talked about and discussed more. So shout out to everybody raising the brand and getting us out there, because I was just downstairs coming back after my work day back to the hotel here in Vegas, and I just ran into some guy wearing the jersey. I had to stop, and I was like, hey, my guy. I was like, I had to stop, dude, and say what's up. And he's like, yeah. Vamos a ver cómo nos va mañana. And, like, ahí vamos a estar. And I was like, yeah, dude. And it's like, that's the best feeling because, we're just continuing to push forward, even if adversity, or in this case, talent is not quite up there.
Just want to add, that it goes both ways. I mean, there not only is it like all the negative talk obviously good for our brand, but we know and they know that our team sells, and that's why they're talking about it. That's why they, it's engagements online and it's ratings on TV when they talk about Tigres, whether it's positive or negative. Because if this, like, I don't know who said it, Dennis, if this would have happened at a, Leon
Mazatlan or
versus
something.
Pachuca game or Mazatlan, any other game like that, would they have made such a big deal about it? Heck no.
No.
But since it's Tigres and it sells, then they make a big deal about it.
Yeah, if anything, they should still be continuing talking about the Club World Cup situation, and that if imagine if that was us, like
Oh yeah, that would have
we
never
never heard
stopped.
the end of it. But I think overall, getting back to the match itself and the series, I think that it's a it's a pretty cool feeling because it's not even about deserving or not deserving. It's about resilience and the willingness to continue to fight, even though that we know, and I'm sure the board knows that talent is required, and an idea that is barely developing under Guido Pizarro. And who knows if he's going to lead us to the promised land? It would be a fantastic story, and even another cherry on top of the many cherries on top that we've have added over the last couple of years to our club history. But it's not a bad situation. Even with like the negative things that we like to point out about the young players and figuring out like adding more talent. I think that the expectations shouldn't be too high. I started the season with zero expectations, got excited with Guido, but now it's like everything that comes is like it's almost you got to be grateful because it's like they're still on a very high run, even with only a championship a couple years ago in 2023.
When you're big, you're big. That's all I got to say. The only thing that they have over us is that they're in the Club World Cup this year, and they only are in that because they won
Without a coach.
without a coach, and they're only in it because they won a weak CONCACAF Champions Cup year.
Yeah.
So
Whatever.
Van
Let
de
'em
Paseo.
Yeah, so I'd rather have the titles, me personally.
you get it. Woodsy gets it.
What's he gets it?
Let's move on. I feel like we can unpack more, but I don't know. Like that series, the second game, it spoke for itself. There's been enough discourse. It was a great ending.
One thing
Stressful.
I'll add, Dennis, before we move on,
Go ahead,
that
yeah.
Linus moving into that right winger spot, I think was a good move. He was
Did make a
completely
difference.
lost as a wing back, a left wing back, and he did look a lot better. We had criticized Linus a lot, and partly it's because he's playing in a position that he's not going to be great in. I think
Yeah, Brunetta as well. Because obviously we played that 4-3-3. Brunetta was not just playing deep as normal; he was also fluctuating like around the zone. Do you know the way he was playing? He reminded me a lot of how Coutinho plays at PSG. I think he's such a
Yeah.
wonderful player.
Yes.
Honestly, he's grew on me so much. I think he's going to be key for the future of next season, especially Brunetta. I think he's found his feet at Tigres now finally.
And Lou, I want to add to your comment too. Is that a couple of things? It's like I think that the expectation of the Linus that left to Europe it's not there. I think that I don't know how much more he could get better. I think he's close to the ceiling that he could probably be as a player. I think he's more of a role player. I don't think he's going to have high production of assists, high production of goals, but he's going to give you effort, and that's something that it's probably you can never question about Diego Lainez. He's got a high motor. He's learned a lot better to be a much better defensive player and has improved tactically. And so I think you couple that with the fact that if you've noticed, he's in much better form and shape. And I think that also has a lot of value to what, when he first came back and having to add him to the line of five on the left side as a left wing back. I think he's gotten much more games under his belt, much more practices, coming back from the injuries. So he looks healthier. And so that obviously helps, to elevate his game. So I think that he definitely has earned, a little bit of credit in terms of like, moving forward as being a part of this squad.
That's one thing we got to give Guido credit for is that the balance I feel like was better on Sunday, going back to the 4-2-3-1 or the 4-3-3, however you want to view it as. Not that the five at the back wasn't a failure, but you could just tell that the attacking intent is just better with that 4-2-3-1, with Lainez playing higher, with Romulo acting as a midfielder. Even though
Ozzy looked great too.
Yeah,
on that left
yeah,
wing.
looked really good, really lively, taking guys on one-on-one. There's a lot to like there, and
Ozzy Osbourne.
The volume of play increase with the formation change.
Yeah.
There is much more.
We just don't have the right pieces yet for
Correct.
the lineup.
Yeah.
We don't have that left wing back, that natural left wing back.
Yeah, and we'll get there at some point. Before we actually move on, best player of the series and worst player of the series, starting with Alfred.
I was going to comment on Linus, but Lou mentioned it. So I'll go with Nahuel. I mean, I think I said it last week when I commented on you guys. I told you guys that Nahuel was going to carry us during this Liguilla, and I'm still firm on it. I think he's going to continue to be our best player.
And the worst?
Oh, you don't want to ask me. Come
on, bro. We
You already know. But not in front of Lou. He's right here. Like, come on. No. I mean, we're playing without a striker. That's all I have to say.
We know what you're trying to say there. We know what you're trying to say. I don't know though.
Without a question, I think all the cross, we probably should have Nahuel Guzman. We wouldn't be in these instances without him at goalkeeping. I think worst player for me, man, that's tough because obviously the immediate and obvious answer could be Ibanez, but man, I can't hate on his effort. I think that effort-wise, he's there, but I mean that's not the position that you ask effort out of. So I think I have to, throw a couple names in there. I'd like to throw Romulo. I'd like to throw in Juan Pablo Vigón. Probably takes the cup just because I think that in these two series, I think that we've been discussing it, but I think that now it's more evident that his tenure at Tigres has long expired. I think that he doesn't contribute very much tactically. He doesn't contribute anymore in terms of level of play. I think that effort is probably the most thing that you can get out of, but now with that position being so highly important in the middle, especially with the way that either we want to play with 5 in the back or 4 in the back, that middle position is super important. So I think that he would probably get the worst, but honorable mentions, I think Romulo and Nico Ibanez. I think that Romulo being a young player and a new player, I think there's still things that could be improved upon. And I think part of it, it's not totally his fault, but I think that he's Brazilian. His level of play should be higher on a squad like Tigres.
Okay, Woodsy and then Lou. Since we all in agreement on best player, who's the worst player in your opinion from the series?
Well, I don't. You said just to confirm, like best play of the series. It means like these 2 games against Necaxa. Just confirm.
Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah, I'm still going to go with Brunetta as best player. Honestly, I'm going to go against De Gea. I know on the first leg, like it was a bit of a dry game, and Nahuel made an unbelievable set. I love him. I put him in my most reliable player when we did this, when we went across. Like, I'm not discrediting Nahuel in the chat, but I think Brunetta's influence on that second game, man, he was critical to every move we made for me. So I'm going to go against De Gea a little bit. Yeah, worst player Diego Reyes.
My man played 3 minutes.
Hey, at least nothing happened when he was on the field.
Yeah, that's 3 minutes too much, mate.
He looks totally out of shape.
Woods, I'm supposed to have the worst takes, Woods. Come on, man.
Bro, he looks totally out of shape. I can't believe he subbed him in.
Like, it looks like he's been drinking a 6-pack a day, bro.
Yeah, bro. Just I think
not the Cate Light, bro. He's bringing the red can.
Carta Blanca, bro.
Drinking puro,
for 6 years.
He's drinking puro indio from the stadium, bro. That's
heck yeah, ice cold.
Lou, your answer.
Best Nahuel. Worst, I'm gonna go Javier Aquino.
I'm with you, 100%.
But honorable mention to my boy Nico. Nico's been off the series. I gotta give Alfred some credit there. He's been MIA the whole series. So we're gonna need him, man. We're gonna need him. Hopefully he steps up against Toluca.
Do you blame him though with the crosses that go into the box
I'll-
though?
I don't blame him for the first game because there was no production in the first game, but I do blame him for the second leg. The second leg, there was plenty of movement. His movement wasn't great.
He had one. He had one in the first half that you should have finished coming off of a cross.
The one he missed, right? He just totally whiffed on it. Yeah.
Right.
On the first leg, he also missed one really bad, and then the one where he got injured.
But what's throwing him off is his movement. He's not getting involved as he was those first few games after Pizarro took over. He was coming down, asking for the ball, doing some distribution, and then joining the attack after distributing. And I think he's gone away from that. He's kind of gotten lazy again, kind of reverted back to the Pauno days where he's waiting for something to happen. And you just can't have that. Because, especially in games where we were so low volume like game one, you're never going to get the ball in that case. So you have to come back and demand the ball. And if that's the only way you get involved, that's at least you're getting touches. And I think in that first game he had 20 touches. I think. I mean, it was awful. And most of those touches weren't in the box. And so I think he had one touch in the box maybe. So it's just he needs to watch some film and get back into the game. We're gonna need him.
Watch him move us on to the final. That's gonna be a great story.
That would be great.
Hopefully.
The one point I'll say about that is that you do have to give him a teeny bit of slack when he's the only natural striker available and there's really nobody else to kind of like even give him any sort of rest.
Okay, but
physically there's going to be a little bit of drop off.
But at the same time, like if we're gonna blame the fact that everybody else is not working or he's not getting the crosses or nobody's putting him in a position to score, then you can have anybody there. If he can't do anything unless everybody else is giving him, a shot to score a goal, then you can put anybody in that position.
Well, clearly nobody has.
Which I think
in training nobody's been able to do that. Otherwise, it would have happened by now.
Yeah.
Right. But what I'm saying is just it's the same thing as having a cone. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and to Alfred's point, I mean it's too late. We're too late into the ball game to even try anything like this. Yeah. But to Alfred's point, you could, like, for example, in leg one, you could have easily pulled him early and gone with a guy like Antuna and just have extra midfielders just to be able to possess the ball more and maybe have something on the counter, But this late in the game, a change like that is way too risky. But earlier in the season, I think had he maybe tried something out where you overload the middle third and then have waves and kind of a scoring by committee type of thing, then that potentially could work.
Yeah, it should have happened.
It just
but why not though? And even if it is like midway through the season, because if you'd rather have like more impacts, then there's got to be some player in the squad who's got to have that capability of playing within the front line, whilst also offering a different dynamic. I mean, I think a perfect player who could play as like a deeper forward, a complete forward, a false nine, if you like. What about Brunetta? And then you put an extra midfield in there, Cordova, Vigon.
Yeah, I'd be cool with that.
I mean, from the pod point of view, that's a good move for us. But I think that it's a risky move, being in the moment and being at the club, and having the expectation that, you're a young coach and you got to win. So I think it's a risk factor and it's a conservative play, right? And it's also like
it is Arnaldo, but no team's ever won anything without taking a risk. To be honest,
what do you
so
mean?
That just goes
I watched Tuca Ferretti for 5 years. Be conservative as fuck.
We don't do it.
Right, no, but and I also think that, I mean, Pizarro is just hoping that that Ibanez will be the player that he was the first 3 games that when Pizarro took over, because he did change drastically those first 3 games. We saw another side of Ibanez we hadn't seen in the last year and a half.
Yeah, I think it's moments, guys. I think Larcamón was very well prepared. I think that Cruz Azul was very well prepared in the semifinals in the CONCACAF. Obviously we want to win them all, but I think that the rival also plays a factor. In this match going into Toluca, it's not going to be easy, especially we have to make the first chess move playing at home, and that's going to be the interesting part is how Guido is going to lay this out. As we prep to play the match tomorrow at home against a team that was hot all season, and for a moment we're against the ropes, against the neighbors. So I think that that's going to be like the really cool and also challenging thing for Pizarro is like where he stands as our coach. What has he learned from the series against Cruz Azul, the series against Necaxa, and even the matches against some of the better teams like America, where he got played like a fiddle. So I think that going into this match, you have to be on your best game, player wise, coaching wise, and and we know the fan base is going to be there supporting. So it's just a matter of the players coming out concentrated, not making mistakes, and fully taking advantage. And I think that adding to what possibly may be going on with Alfred with this Brunetta agenda is just that we expect him to be the elite player that he should be, right? Like, and I think that's where like I sort of understand where Alfred is coming from, is that these are the matches that we want Brunetta to like fully take on this team and carry us, because he has that capability. That's what he's getting paid and what we paid for him. But I mean, it's all going to be about these critical moments now moving forward and how we move on the chessboard.
Before we fully get into the Toluca series, our first comment of the night. Drum roll, please.
Who is it?
Of course, it's Striedger.
Yes.
Oh.
Always Striedger. Osea can probably also fit in that if we move into that position. Yes, we've been crying out for this forever, but it should have happened earlier in the season. Again, it's too risky to try to do that now, but I don't disagree with that point.
Yeah.
All right. Toluca. Series starts tomorrow at home against them. The second leg is on Saturday at their place. If this series ends up in a tie on aggregate, Toluca moves on via their league position, so we have to win the series outright. Tigres and Toluca have met up in Liguilla 7 times previously, and each and every single time Tigres have moved on.
I wish you hadn't said that.
I'm just reading the outline. You can blame
the stat. It's just a stat. We're stat people here. Come on.
Yeah. I don't know if it was Alfred or Edgar, but one of them wrote it, not me. Turco Mohamed has faced off against Tigres 5 previous times before in the Liguilla setting. The first 2 times he won, the last 3 Tigres has beat him. Okay, including the 2017 final.
You're setting us up.
I'm just reading the outline.
If I knew you were gonna do that, I would have worn my away jersey to my third kit jersey today.
To
bad luck one.
LOL.
Yeah, just.
Apparently, I don't know how we already know this already, but freaking Adonai is the ref. So whoopity doo.
I hate that.
And the giraffe Perez Borja is gonna be manning the VAR. The one lady that always hurt Tigres Femenil, like never called a PK in our favor. That's gonna be manning the VAR.
Brutal.
Expect some bad things to happen on that end.
Oh, for
by
sure.
the way,
we're
gonna have to win this game all on our own, man. Playing against the refs.
Have to.
Yeah. Speaking of Femenil, shout out to Toluca Femenil for winning the championship over America yesterday.
Shout out to Karen Luna, Nancy Antonio, and Hannah Gutierrez. Saludos.
La porra te saluda.
La porra. The only absence that we are aware of is Andre Pierre Guignac, who is not expected to return at any point this season at this point, which we all knew.
We'll catch him next season.
Yeah, we'll catch him in LA during Leagues Cup, hopefully, or San Diego.
Hindsight. Remember when, back when Guignac got this injury, there was discussions about, whether or not, they should, take him off the roster to open up the space to bring somebody in. And then, Guignac was like, "No, I'm going to be ready." Kind of wish they would have taken the right decision back then.
Well,
and maybe brought somebody else.
You think Pauno was going to stand up to him?
That is true.
Or Culebro.
Well, and also, if he had done the recovery the right way and not rushed into it,
he rushed it back. That's the problem.
He probably would have been back by now, realistically.
Yeah, he rushed it back.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sucks to say, but it was due, right? Like, how long during this 10 years that he's been with us? When have you seen him actually be injured like this? Never.
except
Like
for the 1 year where Nico
now
Lopez won
he's
the
about to
foreign
be
title.
40 years old. Like an injury, like it's gonna stretch a little bit.
And honestly, I think he might be done, guys. Like I mean, at some point, I think we're gonna have to stick a fork in him and just admit he's done,
No,
done.
and I think that is here now more than ever. I think that anybody that truly believes that he's going to come in and like score 7 8 goals, that's unrealistic. I think my true expectation is he comes in, you give him a 1 year contract, he works himself in off the bench and gets in shape. He helps you out marketing wise, the Leagues Cups games. He helps you, in the
The locker
matches,
room.
the locker room most importantly. These matches, off the bench, and then the second half of the season, I think it's his farewell tour. Like he might not even get playing any much playing time because that's 6 months from here up until December. There's probably going to be another player coming in and some going out. So at that point, you'd imagine that we're building the squad again with what we have and what we're looking to bring in. So I don't know if he's truly done, Lou, but I think, and when I mean that, it's not so much that like he's done playing. I think he has other motives to be around, and I think those motives are still beneficial for us.
Oh, and
He's done
honestly,
everything for us. He's accomplished.
his next stage might even be better than what he gave us as a player. Honestly, I feel like he's gonna contribute a ton in the front office role. He's gonna be a champion for us, man. I mean, that's why when I say he's done, I don't mean it as a jab at him. I just
Yeah, not at
mean
all. No.
that I'm ready for him to take that next leap because I know he's gonna do great in it.
And it would help us too, right? So we're not in like, what's it going to be like? Is he gonna be back? Help out, help us out off the bench. Like I think that's where it's the uncertainty of like where he's going to fall in. But I think that just having him around, and I think Culebro even like hinted at it, and maybe I don't want to give him too much credit that he did it consciously, so he probably did it unconsciously. That he talked about, you have a guy on the field like Nahuel, a guy on the bench like Guido, and then a guy in the stands like Andre. And when I downloaded that, it was like, oh, like it's just he's destined to be around the club, and that camera spotlight that he got, it's like that's the type. Even though he's dressed like he's like 30, and not like a 40-year-old, it's that aura that you want as somebody that meant so much to the club. You know what I mean? And like I don't think you get to see that very much in any team across the globe. You don't see a guy in his 40s, with such a young energy, such a young aura in the stands, dressing, or cheering you on. You have typically players that like move into this role. Like I'm thinking like Pirlo, Totti, like when they're and they got to that stage of their career and they're like suited up, just walking around like they're important, which they were. But you have a guy that still has that like player aura that's there for their squad. So it was incredible to watch, and it just, I'm glad that we gave this moment to talk about him a little bit, because I think that it would help us, to get out of that uncertainty, like you're talking about, Lou.
Last comment. Things happen for a reason. I mean, in the end, good thing that Guiñac got injured the whole season, because now we got to see Ibanez the whole season and know that he's not it.
My man couldn't go without a jab at Ibanez again. I'm telling you, I need to pay attention to these agendas Alfred has against our players.
What I don't understand is what has he got against Brunetta, man? The best, like one of the best players in the season, the MVP, and then all of a sudden he turned on Brunetta too.
I think
What's
I'm
going on, dude?
I'm not turning.
Se está haciendo rayado este vato or what, bro?
bro. I think
Arnoldo said it earlier. It's just the expectation. Okay. The expectation for Brunetta is that he needs to carry this team, and I don't see a Lucas Lobos style carrying the team. I don't see a Walter Gaitan style carrying the team. I don't even see not even a Diente Lopez style carrying the team. Like I feel like he's still not up to par.
My,
to
And
the
how many titles did Walter Gaitan bring to the squad?
hey, bro, no mames, bro.
Now the jabs. Oh, now the jabs are going
Just
to you. Now
saying, bro.
see?
No, desapareció en las finales, bro. I'm just telling y'all.
I think but he carried us.
Which is
to the
good critique. Same thing that I'm saying about Bruneta. I mean, we need him now to show up. Not against Mazatlán in Jornada 7, not against Querétaro in Jornada 11. I mean, we need him to show up now in Liguilla. He got to go. Great.
I'm
It
glad
came
you're
off the
bringing
leg
this
of a
up,
defender.
Alfred. I'm glad you're bringing it up because I think we're going to run into situations like this a lot more. And Arnoldo sort of took a hint at it about moments. But you got to understand that Guido Pizarro is basically taking all the pages out of Tuca Ferretti's book, man. And go back and watch Tuca Ferretti and how many times we screamed at him for wasting our players. How many times many of our players didn't look great, and it was because of Tuca's system. And it was because Tuca prioritized pragmatism over beauty. Like Tuca would rather win 1-0 and save his legs than go out and win 5-1, right? He wasn't there to please the fans. He wasn't there. Tuca had this plan long term and over the season, and it didn't matter. Like if he had to go and play, River Plate with all the sub-23, he didn't care, and he didn't care that the players got mad. And I feel like Pizarro, in a lot of ways, is managing the team. He puts the freno de mano, the handbrake on these guys a lot of times, and so you're gonna see games like this where there was nobody to accompany Bruneta in the midfield. There was no intent to attack, uh, and the whole intent is to leave with a 0-0 tie from Aguascalientes. And so there's gonna be a lot more moments like that in the future, and where fans are gonna really get upset at our players. But a lot of it has to do with the system, with the coach, and with the moments of the in the season.
You're saying I got to shift the agenda to the coach.
Yeah.
To me,
I think.
I think he's doing it right, dude. I just like Guido Pizarro. To me, the only thing I can fault him is he's having rookie moments because he doesn't have the miles on him. He doesn't have the flight times, the flight hours on him. But once he gets the flight hours, bro, he's gonna be really sneaky. Watch. It's just right now he's in the learning process.
And I think that bringing it back,
Lewis,
to
that managerial mentality of just sort of preserving and just making sure that's the reason ultimately why Tuca was potted at the end of the day, because the star players like Aquino, Gignac were getting on. There's still some of them still playing now, but losing their legs. And then ultimately we started seeing a slowdown in the team, and all the other teams around the league were catching up because we didn't have that same energy to press and play patterns. So if that's the approach we're going to go for, then we're going to need a massive overhaul in the summer, mate.
Yeah,
Right?
which I think is coming, Woodsy. It's coming,
yeah,
Woodsy.
hopefully.
It's coming. Yeah, and I think he's gonna enjoy a good 3, 4, 5 years of good talent on the squad that he can manage as he pleases. And then we're gonna run into that issue that you're talking about. Is like 4 or 5 years down the road when these guys start to age again. What's going to happen to our squad, right? Is Guido going to evolve? Are we going to rebuild? Look at Tuca's history, and every 3 years he would burn out at every squad he went to.
Yeah,
He'd have 3 solid years, and then it would burn out because they never renewed, they never refreshed the squads for him. So I think
it happened when he won obviously 2011 with us, and then 3 years later burnt out in 2014, and then we just kind of had all these new players come in.
Yeah, that 01 to 03 era was pretty much him, and then that was it. We after 04 we sort of just flaked out.
I was gonna say, just a last comment on the whole thing with Bruneta. I think that even though statistically and even scoring factor wise, and XGs and goal to assist ratio in terms of his production, I think that I personally, and it's not necessarily the best comparison, but it's still I think a good thing to mention is I just don't want to get Lucas Alarayan. You know what I mean? I don't want to look back after his time here and been like, oh, was he truly the best player in the league? Was he truly, the best player on our squad, or was there other players that maybe even defensively or even the goalkeeper took some shine away from his moment of being the best player on the team? And so I think that's where the expectation comes. Like, you want him to be top three player, and I think he's closer to like a top 6-7 player in the league. But nonetheless, he's got to step up those moments.
I actually think technique-wise, I still put Cordova above him. I'm not talking about attitude. I'm not talking about like, current, moment. I'm talking about just technique and just talent. I think Cordova is still better than Bruneta.
Yeah, the problem with Cordova is that my man's busy.
Yeah, it's another topic.
Yes.
All right, can we talk about Toluca now?
Yeah, 3-0 at home.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Ay, not that quickly. Okay, Woodsy, I'm gonna start with you. What is your preferred lineup for this game, for the first leg?
Do you know what? I like. It's bold. It's really bold, but you've got to be bold to win big games in big championships like this. I really like the setup you put out. I know Ibanez is a bit of a that's going to be a bit of a debate, but ultimately, I think the work rate it gives you, the record he's got as well, prior with ourselves and at Pachuca as well in the Liguilla stages. I think it'll be daft to leave him out just off a couple off games. So I'll definitely have him in there. Arguably Fulgencio in there for Ozzy Osbourne as well.
Oh my God.
There it is.
Why did you ask him for a lineup, man?
I think we can all agree Bigon can't start like for us.
No.
No.
I would start the. Well, I want Carioca to play tomorrow, so
Yeah,
I wouldn't say start the same 11 from Sunday. That would be the one change. I would switch out Romulo for Carioca and then keep everything else the same. I think I'd be happy.
My things with Carioca, one, I don't think he's truly fully healthy, and two, I think we're also getting down. They're letting us down easy as he's got literally a couple weeks left of contract. I think that Guido knows that even though he could potentially
He's not in the future.
Yeah, exactly. I think that he's got to play his pieces in what moving forward is. It sucks because I think that he can still contribute. I mean, even like at the end of the match, before the goal happened, like when it was still 1-1, I thought Carioca would have been great to come in and like helped out with managing some of the mid. But the question also arises, like, what's up with Parra? Like, you know what I mean? I think he had really good moments throughout the season, and does he not truly believe in him? Does he not think he's ready for the moment? Because I think that if you play Romulo there and he hasn't really stepped up to the plate in terms of taking fully that position and making it his, especially with Carioca being injured and Bigon being, you're playing two similar styles of central midfielders and Nando and Bigon, who are more offensive oriented. And so I think that that's the type of questions that need to be asked into this lineup, is like, who is going to really step up to be that central defensive mid? Is it going to be Romulo? Is it going to be Carioca, for old time's sake? Or is he going to be continuing to experiment with Bigon? But I think that Bigon has shown now over the course of the season and now in these matches of the CONCACAF and, quarterfinals of this Liguilla that he's just not cut up anymore to be that starting player.
I mentioned this on our threads recently, and I mentioned this on Thursday specifically. If you have Gorriarán and Vigon together, you're just asking to get dominated in the midfield because they play like number 8s, both of them. You can't have Gorriarán set as the deepest lying midfielder because he's not a true number 6. He's never been that way. That's never been his best position. That's where Romulo comes in. That's where Carioca comes in. If you have Vigon and Gorriarán together, like just one long ball, like past the midfield, and you're in trouble, right? Like there's not going to be any resistance there because the spaces are just going to be too big. They're both going to want to get forward more than they want to like stay back. So I mean, you're right, Arnoldo. Like you can't, like Vigon can't even be on the field, honestly. Like I genuinely don't see a scenario that is beneficial where he's on the field at this point throughout the rest of the of the Liguilla. Like you're just essentially playing a man down, and you're just leaving too much space in the middle of the park to get exploited, especially by these really good teams. I mean, the 3 teams that are left besides us are all really good, and they will find ways to exploit that if that ever happens. So
Only scenario where I would
We're gonna
use them
play-
is end of game. You're down and you need to score, and you pull a holding mid or you pull one of your center backs, and then you let him play as basically as a 9,
yeah,
like
and
another guy
crash
in the
the
box.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah, or
he
if your
does have.
midfield is like lacking legs and you need to bring someone on for extra legs, sort of. Yeah.
yep.
Honestly, in this Toluca game for the first leg, I'm going 4-1, 4-1, and I'm going my back line. I'm going all lockdown defenders. So I'm going Loroña, I'm going Purata, I'm going Joaquin, and I'm going Angulo in the back. And then my one holding mid, Zuarg, who can kind of drop deep if we need to go 5 in the back at some point. And then I'm going Gorriaran and Bruneta as my 2 central mids. And then Herrera on the left wing, Lainez on the right wing, and Ibanez on the top. That's the way I'm going.
Fitting Aquino.
Yeah, I don't think Aquino is fit to defend Alexis
And I'm
Vega,
the one
bro.
with an agenda.
Look, dude, Aquino has said it himself. He struggles against speedy wingers, man. Go back and watch that interview he did with
Alexis
Pello,
Vega's
and he
not
talked
speedy.
about he's speedier than Aquino, and he struggles against dudes that dribble at him. Like, watch the Columbus game, how he performed against Inestrosa. He's had a lot of issues, man. And honestly, I don't feel like he could lock down Vega. So if he can't lock down Vega, now you got
Jesus
Vega
Garza,
going
though?
up against
As you mentioned,
your
as you mentioned
weaker
his name in
center
the
back.
chat, you know, Jesus Garza. What about Garza? Because I know he's not exactly a defensive fullback, but can he not slot in there?
Nah, he's definitely cut. I mean, I think honestly,
He hasn't seen action in like 2 months. So
from a perspective of being selfish, I would definitely look elsewhere to get moved. I mean, I think that he's gone through so many like ups and downs with coaches of like getting played, not played, and you got a guy that was around, as a player who it doesn't believe in him, and it might be a situation that
it happened to him last season.
Dude, it happens every season with every coach that we've had. But
like he starts the season, he starts well, he's getting his chances, and then halfway through the season, he gets lost.
I don't even think that he's been at fault totally in all the situations. I just think that the coaches.
But we don't know
Exactly. And
he wasn't at fault this season. It's because a family member passed, and then everything got messed up because of that.
But again, like to Guido being around him as a player, I mean, you kind of have to sort of like not even challenge the fact that he wouldn't be playing him, because he's started Loroña over him, and the guy was like, he was ready to be moved, in the offseason before the season started. So I think I see where you're coming from, Lou. My biggest thing is like, do we go 4 in the back at home? I believe so. I think that you got to push for the score. So I think he's going to come out with Joaquin, Angulo, and Purata with Aquino on the right side. And then I think he's going to go Romulo, Nando, and Bruneta, Lainez, Ociel, and Ibanez.
Loroña wasn't bad last week when he played.
I'm telling you, that's the answer right there. You use Loroña. And then what you do on the away game is you go 5 at the back.
Yeah,
take a lead. Yeah, take the lead at home with 4 in the back. You've got a shot at winning that game. Honestly, Toluca doesn't defend well. They don't have a good goalkeeper. They actually have one of the worst goalkeepers in the league. So it's the game to take plenty of shots. Let Bruneta roam free and take shots. It's hopefully a night. Hopefully it's a night where we get Nico hot and he's able to contribute. You got Ozzy that can cut in and shoot. Lainez is also an option. So you got scoring options. You take even a slim lead, and then I have confidence we can lock them down on the road. In the regular season under Pauno, we only allowed 1 goal. They did dominate that game, but at Toluca, we only lost 1-0. So it's not crazy to think that with 5 at the back, we could go and shut them down over there.
Yeah, I think that the most important thing, you have to win. Like, you have to be a positive result. A 2-0 would be fantastic to get away from El
2
Volcán.
or above. That's the
That's
goal.
the formula the rest of the way. Win at home, tie on the road.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't feel like we need to make any sort of crazy analysis besides that. It's like that's the objective, right? Like you go in, you take advantage because on the road, I mean, we haven't scored on the road in what feels like an eternity. So don't bank on that. Get your goals in at home and figure it out on the road. So
What
The
happens
good-
if we don't? What happens if we leave with a 0-0 or a 1-1?
Then
that's
yeah,
I was gonna
you
say that's an
cooked.
uphill battle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you cooked.
you run back the same formation, honestly.
Now you got I think there's no debate. I think you got to walk out after tomorrow's game at home. You ride the momentum of the victory that you pulled or advancement that you pulled off of that ending of that goal against Necaxa, and you push.
I think that Mohamed's going to be playing with that. He knows that the rule favors him. A lot of people were criticizing the
You don't
fact
play,
that
bro.
he pretty much parked the bus against Rayados, but I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to play it safe. He knows he's got the the favor of the rule. So and he knows that he doesn't have a good defense. So it's better for him
He has
to play defensively and try to keep the 0 in the back.
I'm cool with that. I'm cool if he wants to give us the same treatment as Rayados, we're gonna make him pay, dude.
I was gonna
'Cause
say he has Piojo Herrera tendencies. He's a stubborn type of coach, and I don't know if
he's stubborn and arrogant at times too.
He doesn't. I don't know if he necessarily learns from his mistakes. So I think that also favors us. I think that the moment that it's Tigres against Mohamed, and even though Dennis jinxed us with his stats, I think that could
Yep.
also be something that favors us because
I'm just reading the outline, bro.
he's had so many opportunities against us, and we sort of have his number. I think the only one was against when he was at America, but we had like 3 red cards in one game, so not the best scenario. But I think the key is to annihilate Alexis Vega, poke at him, and I think that's where like I'm leaning Romulo in the midfield. Even though I was shit talking earlier that he had a bad series against Necaxa, I think that defensively he could be the diamond in the rough because he is a guy that's agile, defensively, disruptive, and I think that that's the type of player you need to clog the middle for Alexis, and then if you have a counter, you have a guy like Joaquin who can track back and basically beat any attacker that we have. Like he's going to be the fastest player on the field. And he's going to physically, have to be imposing on Paulinho, even though Paulinho is a great player. So I think that
Elino's out, right? That right winger that they normally utilize. So anyway, I feel comfortable on that side because Angulo is such a shutdown defender. And then you got Joaquim, who one-on-one I think is going to neutralize Paulinho. So I think the weaker side of our defense is that left side where you got Aquino and Purata trying to defend Vega. I think that to me is the weaker side.
if we had
But then
to,
also forgetting Jesus Gallardo as well when he makes some overlapping runs, like we're gonna get doubled up on that side, so that's where we really need to we need
he's
to
good at
block
that.
that side.
That's a good point, Woods. Very good point.
He picked up form and level after he left Rayados.
Yeah, surprisingly, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, he would have been great in that back line of 5 for us.
Oh, what a shock!
Come on, man.
Big fan. If you had to, let's keep it at percentages. What are we looking at? 60-40, 65-35. What are we leaning?
60-40.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I think to have a
honestly, dude, we're gonna know after tomorrow night.
Yeah,
we're gonna know after tomorrow night. Tomorrow's gonna tell us everything we need to know. We take a lead, bro. The boys are gonna be fired up for that Saturday game, and Nahuel will shut it down, bro. Like I trust our back line, and I trust Nahuel.
I promise that if these guys, step up, these young guys, I will forever accept that they are bench players for the Tigres Beca.
Tomorrow's game is gonna let us know whether or not Pizarro learns from his mistakes, because we have basically the same matchup as Cruz Azul and
Cruz
Conca,
Azul.
where we're playing at home first, and then we have the away game. And what happened in that series?
Yeah, just
We
lazy.
had a
It was
bad
lazy.
first home game.
And that was going to be
Yeah.
that's going to be
Bad
my
first
point. You can't self-inflict
Yep.
anything tomorrow.
So
anything.
So I agree. We need to leave with at least a 2-0. 2-0. A 1-0 is not enough.
You don't think so? You don't think we can shut them down at their place?
1-0 is not enough.
Here's the thing that I'll say too that could work in our favor. Obviously, when you're big, you're big. We've made that point throughout half of this specific episode. However, is the pressure on us? Out of all the teams left,
No,
is the pressure
pressure's on
no.
Toluca.
So the boys should play free.
That's good.
If you win and you make the final, awesome, obviously, and then you've got whatever comes with that. But if you don't, you weren't expected.
Yeah,
to be here.
Toluca's playing with the pressure because they've gotten bounced so many times in semis.
And they were the best team in the league this season. They're the 1 seed for a reason. They picked up a ton of points. Like, all of the pressure should be on them. All of the pressure needs to be on Turco because of his past history. Like,
well, the pressure will come down on us in the home leg. Obviously, the Tigres atmosphere,
Sure,
the expectation.
yeah.
But yeah, what Lewis said, I absolutely agree. In the away leg at Toluca, you saw that atmosphere against Rayados when they bring them tifos out and when they start shining them floodlights. The fans are going to get serious and they're going to want results. They've spent big. They've got big players. Their home pressure compared to ours is going to be exponential. So in essence, we can maybe use that against them because we've got the experienced players on our side. I don't think they do, to be honest. So we can use that momentum against them very much.
I think that in order of pressure, I think Toluca has the most pressure, then Cruz Azul, then America, then us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is weird to say for the team that's won the last 3 championships, but it's because they've won the last 3 that they really don't have the pressure.
And it's America, right? Like you
Yeah.
know, you expect that as a team, and especially they got talent on the field, but more importantly, they got a fantastic head coach.
Yep.
All right, guys, I'm very close to tapping out here. I gotta go get dinner. It's 8:37 here in Viva Las Vegas.
Es temprano, güey.
Got to work after this, man. I've been getting swamped with work, so
Hey.
I still have a couple of
Fucking
things.
amateur Arnaldo.
Amateur indeed. Where's
Yeah.
Edgar when you need him to take over your spot?
2-0.
We'll go
That's
faster
my
to the next
prediction.
topics, man.
2-0. That's my prediction. Shout out Alexis Vega. Gallardo, excellent point that you made there, Woodsy. I think that's definitely an area. The right side has to be totally under control. So Linus has to be a factor there in terms of defensively and helping out. And Aquino has to be on his A game. So right side has to be on point tomorrow. Nahuel obviously going to be on his A game like always. It's a match that we can potentially squeeze out at home and put us in another final. So I think that it's a good moment regardless of the result and the outcome of the whole series. I think that we're in a good spot, and going into the off season, obviously with a potential new signing coming on, couldn't have been in a better spot, I think.
So the away prediction, Arnaldo, you know es?
Away prediction, so I'm going 2-0 at home, and then I'm going 1-1 on the road.
Te lo firmo.
Yeah. And no sabe lo que le espera la botella de tequila when I'm back in Houston for the final. I'll be in Monterrey too for the second leg, so it won't be at home, but I'm hoping it happens and we win that cup.
Este va a estar en la Macroplaza con toda la raza.
Yeah. But all right, fellas, it was a pleasure. I'm sure you guys are going to finish talking about new boy potentially coming in. You guys have an excellent night, and see you guys on Twitter tomorrow.
Ciao for
provecho,
now,
bro.
Arnaldo.
Thank you.
Ciao
Peace
for
out.
now.
Gee.
Peace out. All right, let's finish this out. I'm going to say 2-0 as well, but I'm mentally preparing myself for 2-1 tomorrow. I'm just saying. I'm mentally preparing myself for that. And hopefully that doesn't happen. Okay, the last
Away game?
away game, 1-1. So we'll win 3-2 on aggregate. That's what I'm
I'm
feeling.
going 2-0 at home, and we lose 2-1 over there.
I could see that
Yeah.
happening too.
Qué
That'd be
duro,
stressful.
bro. Heartbreaker.
Si no es sufrir, no es de Tigres. As we know. Anyways.
I got full trust in the D. I'm going 1-0, 0-0. Shut him out, baby, for 180 minutes.
All right.
Nahuel Guzman on fire.
It's 2019 all over again. That's what it sounds like.
That's what we've been saying, bro. We've been saying it.
Anybody else besides Streaker in the chat got a prediction? He's saying 3-0, 3-1 global. Global.
Woodsies.
Agree.
Woodsy, what's yours?
Yeah, I'd say similar to Arnaldo. Just a quick note on I know I've already pretty much cracked the tactical approach and whatnot. I think to block that left side of Toluca, which I did actually mention, normally when we play that 3, Gorialan always plays on the left, Brunetta always plays on the right, and Gorialan should always play on the left. Naturally, that's where he deploys. That should always be the case. I'm a big fan of that. This is the one exception, I will say, pull Gorialan over to the right, because he has more of a work ethic. You can actually come back more and help Aquino out defensively. So I think if we get that set up right, not just personnel, but tactical approach, I don't see any reason why we can't go and get the 2-0 with the pressure on them and with the fans on our side at home. Away from home, I do think we lose. I think hopefully we can keep it down to 1-0. We go through 2-1 on full score.
Okay. This dude talking about 6 goals. I mean, I wish I was as hopeful as you.
If we had, I mean, what are we talking about, Lou? Ibanez?
Ibanez hat trick incoming, baby.
Bro, we'd have to score in a way that we haven't scored in multiple years.
Yeah, we can't score 3 goals at home to fucking Pumas, mate. Toluca.
Yeah.
So, okay. Last but certainly not least on tonight's show, the bomba that is almost done. Good things come to those who wait, and it seems that Tigres fans could have a big surprise in the upcoming summer transfer window. What was already rumored and what we've already talked about beforehand is close to being complete, with the very reliable Fabricio Romano tweeting out today that Tigres and Atletico Madrid are very, very close to agreeing to a deal that would make Angel Correa, the Argentine World Cup winner, longtime Madrid attacker, join the club this summer on a fee of only 6 million euros, which to me is an absolute steal. To get a guy with insane European experience, a World Cup winner, a guy who has proven to be clutch throughout his career at the club level, even this season. I mean, he's a reason why Atletico won a Champions League game against the finalist PSG earlier in the season, scoring a late last-minute goal in Paris. I mean, this guy is proven, and obviously he hasn't played full 90s in a long time, but by all indications, this is a big signing for not only for our team but for the league, and for a team that, as we've talked about, recently, that's been struggling to score goals and to have good attacking play. This really shores up, not all of it, obviously. I think there's still a lot that needs to be done, but this helps out quite a ton in that department. So reactions to this news, reaction to the fee being low, because it was apparently reported earlier that Atletico wanted 15 or 20 million, and the fact we're only paying 6 is kind of insane compared to that high number. Reactions to that, and just how he fits into this team, this club, especially now that Guido kind of has an idea on what he's doing to a degree. Not everybody
I want to
wants.
say I've seen lots of reactions online. I've read several from Atletico Madrid fans, and wow, I mean, usually, you go and drop in on some of the comment sections of their, existing fans, and you're scared to see, some negative feedback, things like, oh, thank God he's leaving, or things like that. But no, I mean, it's quite the contrary. I even saw that tweet that, they were saying, like, why 6 million? We should have asked for 15 million at least. So it's good, obviously, that we're getting a player of this quality. Everybody thinks so, and hopefully he just if he does come, he does bring that expectation with him, and obviously is able to perform. That's what we need.
Looks like Alfred and I spent the same thing, doing the same thing this afternoon, reading comments on Atletico Madrid's pages, because I had the same reaction. Like, a lot of people were saying, "Man, that's a steal. Like, what are we doing? Like, he's such a great quality player." And Peter mentioned something on the chat that I thought was interesting, that perhaps we would officially giving him 6, but there might be some other money being passed around outside the contract, which would make sense, because to me 6, at least in our market, 6 is ridiculously cheap for a guy his caliber, who's a World Cup winner. That would be our second Champion du Monde. So very, very, very happy if we can land him. Hopefully nothing happens to break that up, but really
Would you
promising
still
me.
bring a winger if you're bringing down Angel Correa?
Honestly, I wouldn't, because I'd play him right where Ozzy plays, on that left wing. I think he'd be a beast on that side. Um, to me, the biggest priority is that left wing back position, and then somebody to fill in Carioca's shoes. I think those are the two biggest ones. And then if there's money left over, then we can look at like a center forward or even a right wing back if we're not going to utilize Garza.
Counter to what you said about the money, I do think it's $6 million because of the contract. He only has a year left, and I did some research. He only makes about $4 million on salary with Atletico right now. So it honestly isn't that surprising that it's that low. I thought we were going to spend about what we spent for Bruneta, or about what we spent for Gorriarán, which is about 10, 11, 12. But I do understand why it's 6, because of the contract length, because it's the last year, or he was going into his last year. It is a little weird that a club like Atletico is asking for that little and accepting that little, I guess, because of who they are,
And that
I
there
mean,
would be no other teams who would want to pay 6 for him. I mean,
right, yeah, and
you know,
and I know he had interest from River. There was a lot of reporting about that. I mean, I saw a lot of MLS people today on Twitter saying, like, why isn't like anybody in MLS wanting to do that? Well, that's because MLS has stupid financial rules. That's its own
or
separate
Saudi.
conversation. Or Saudi Arabia, exactly. So it's really
He
interesting.
doesn't want to go Saudi.
And yeah, I get,
I mean,
maybe he only wants to be with Tigres. Maybe he's had enough conversation with Guido to where he's convinced that this is the next thing that he needs to be doing in his career, and that nothing else is really an option, which wouldn't surprise me, knowing their existing relationship, as both of them being Argentine and all that good stuff. So how do you see his fit with the team, assuming he arrives?
Yeah, the price tag isn't really surprising considering all the context you just gave there, Dennis. I was going to bring it up. For me, it's going to be he's going to come to the club on like substantial wages, so it's not going to be cheap in the overall grand scheme of things. Now, I've actually spoke to Atleti fan about this just like over a week ago, and he did mention, look, so Correa's consistent performances for the last, not just this season, but for the last few seasons, have not been there. But he is. They are aware of his technical qualities. So have I've been as well. I was actually closely looking at Atletico in the title winning season in 2021, and even saying back then, Dennis, the amount of clutch goals, that outside the foot goal against Valladolid, which won them the title. And I think he's a player suited to the league. So in the La Liga, obviously, it's more of a, especially Simeone is trying to transition to this sort of, he's trying to move away from more physical, like, style he plays. He's trying to press a bit higher. He's trying to up the tempo a little bit. That's where it's sort of not benefited for the likes of a player called for Correa, because in the Liga it's very it's very high tactically thinking. Whereas in Mexico, let's be honest, it's just 11 angry Mexicans fucking smashing into each other, trying to break everyone's legs. Right. So obviously there's two ways to have a look at it. That's what we love about the league. So one,
that's
it
the
might
best
suit him
description
because
I've ever heard.
that's what we love about the league, don't we, Alfred? Look, so one, it could, because he's quite an erratic player, like on the ball, like technically wise, he could suit this league like a glove. But then secondly, he might not be used to the physicality to what he's used to playing out there in Spain. It might take him, a month or two to adapt. But I'm more than happy with it. I think it's really good because he can play along across the front line. Obviously, he'll know the language, he'll know the culture, he knows Guido. And yeah, if we can get this signing as soon as we possibly can, then especially because Guido's looking to try and play this. I know we've been playing 4-3-3, but we played the two up top as well. I'm thinking of maybe him and Abanez up top, because that's where I think he best deploys, in the two up top, where you can have somewhere, especially with Abanez's pace running off him, and you can play 1-2s with him. I think he'll fit us like a glove, personally.
And I mentioned this beforehand when we first talked about him like a month or two ago. He is 30, 31 years old, but he's a guy that doesn't play 90 minutes. Yeah, he doesn't play 90 minutes week in and week out for Atleti right now, and he hasn't the last few years. And so he's going to have like the legs to be able to play full 90s when he gets here, if he gets here, obviously. And I think that matters, because obviously he wants that. I think part of the draw is, to be able to start again, because he hasn't been able to start for so long with the attackers that they have there, specifically like the arrival of Julian Alvarez and Griezmann's continued like importance to that team. Like, it's hard for him to get consistent playing minutes, especially in the league and in Champions League. And so to come over to a team where he is a guaranteed starter, like no doubt, like he becomes on current form the best attacker in the team, right? Like by far. I mean, he's better than Ibanez. He's probably better than 40-year-old Andre Pierre Gignac at this point. So that's a big draw for him. And he's not going to be, I don't think he's going to age badly, even though he's already a 30-year-old player, because he doesn't play those full 90-minute games week in and week out. I think that serves us well in the long run, assuming he signs a pretty long deal with the club. So I'm really excited about it. I think that Woodsy, you just mentioned, and I'll just echo it again, like his technical ability, his ability to do stuff with the ball is really good, and is something that we really need in this team. He's obviously, like I mentioned, like he's a clutch player. Like a lot of our guys right now aren't that clutch, if we're just being real. And he is. Like, there's been numerous times throughout the years where he has been able to score off the bench, like late 90-minute goals that really impact whatever game that he's playing in. And I think that matters, because that's kind of speaking in the perfil tigre. You play the full 90 minutes, you play the whole game, you play your heart out, and you try to win and attack the game until the very end. And I think he has proven in those tight situations that he can do that by providing output. So, and it helps to have another Argentine in the team, and a team full of Argentines. So I think it's a great move, and especially at 6 million euros. I mean, maybe it's probably a 6 plus add-ons later if he reaches certain things. Maybe it's one of those deals. We'll find out more in the future. But if it's only 6, that is a steal. Lou, was it you that made the comment earlier in the group chat that in the Liga MX market you get, who was it?
Nene Beltran. Yeah, you get like Nene Beltran for that price.
We bought Antuna. We bought Antuna for 8 million.
Yeah,
like come on, man.
Exactly. So,
yeah,
I'm really excited, and I hope that obviously that's not the first one, or that's the only signing of the window. I expect
he's our second signing. He's our second signing.
Besides,
we signed Gato Ortiz.
No manches. This dude talking about referees.
That's the ref, bro.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I figured I saw someone post that earlier,
Yeah. He signed the pre-contract before the year started. Anyways, I guess my one question with this impending move is that obviously somebody's going out, right, to take over the foreign spot. And I mean, the obvious.
Well, no, you have Guido Pizarro's spot already free.
Oh, right. I keep forgetting that's vacant.
And then Carioca's likely leaving, so then that gives you one more spot.
Yeah. That's right. I keep forgetting that Pizarro's vacant spot is still there, and that we never filled it.
Let go of Ibanez, you have another one.
Yeah, if you wanted to go after a third guy, you could let go of Ibanez. That's true.
Denny Bouanga?
Come
on now.
You've been eyeing that guy for a long time, Dennis.
I sure have, man. Hey, here's the thing, man. Like, and this is
he's been eyeing us.
Here's the thing with Correa too.
Has he though, Alfred? It feels like he hasn't. he kind of flirted with us and then just kind of went on his way, bro.
You talk about
He se ofreció el vato.
maybe. Here's the thing, though, man. Like with modern football, especially with modern attackers, you need guys who are versatile, right? And Boanga fits that bill because he can play on the left, he can play as a striker, if you need to. Correa's the same way. He can play as a
Yeah,
striker. He can play on
dynamic.
either wing. He can play as a
Yeah.
10. You need that. It doesn't matter what league you're in. It doesn't matter what part of the world you're playing the game at. Like the best teams have versatile attackers who can play multiple positions and can play more than one way. That's just how it is. So, again, very excited about it, and hopefully a sign of things to come, because I know we've all mentioned it throughout this episode. There's probably an overhaul coming, regardless of what happens with this Liguilla, and I expect there to be quite a lot of movement in and out with the team going into this summer. Wasn't there a rumor or something like that Bouanga rejected us? I think he did because he was trying to go back to Europe, but he hasn't gone to Europe. So it's like,
He didn't go.
yeah, he was trying to go back to France to play for Rennes. I'm pretty sure in the winter, and it never happened. So, I mean, I don't blame him for not leaving now. I mean, he could possibly be playing in the Club World Cup because of that stupid playoff game. So,
Yeah.
Which is a joke, by the way. That is an absolute joke of a thing that's even happening. So, is that it? Oh, we have From the Vault. And we have, are we doing the pick? We should probably.
No, we'll leave that for another.
We should, yeah, we should
episode.
table the pick your five for later. You're right. Anyways, From the Vault, lead us through it, Alfred.
Sure. 20 years ago, on the 11th of May, 2005, we had.
Arnaldo celebrated his 50th birthday.
Come on, bro. Why didn't you say that when
El
he was
año
still
del
on?
Kikiri. El año del Kikiri.
Wait. Were you guys born yet? Or?
I was.
Just about.
Okay.
Just about.
So, 11th of May 2005, we had a quarterfinal game against Morelia, where Walter Gaitán scored 3 goals and led us to victory in a 3-2 win in El Uni. So, the only players that have scored 3 goals in one game in Liguilla, in all of history for Tigres, have been Gaitán, Pastor Lozano, and Guignac. So, yeah, for us to get a hat trick incoming from Ibanez, oh man, that would put him right up there with those guys. Next from the vault. So, 8 years ago, on the 10th of May, 2017, we had the Clásico Regio quarterfinal game where we scored 4 goals. So we won 4-1 against Rayados with 2 goals from Guignac and 2 goals from Dueñas. After that, we went on to beat them at their house 2-0 and end the series 6-1. That was 8 years ago.
2017 is 8 years ago. That
8 years ago,
bro. I graduated high school in 2017.
And that led us to the final against Chivas that obviously we got robbed.
We got scammed, yes.
But anyways, yes. Next up on the vault. So this is goals in Liguilla. Since 1978 until today, 83. Well, now 80. Well, was it a goal? I think it was just a goal from Bruneta, right? So now 84 Tigres have scored goals in Liguillas. Out of those players, the players that have scored the most goals in Liguillas have been, obviously, in number 1, Guignac with 34 goals. In number 2, Walter Mantegazza with 8 goals. And then we have a long list of players with 7 goals. And in that list are Sebastián Córdoba and Javier Aquino, along with Walter Gaitán, Tomás Boy, and Barbadillo.
Wow.
So that's just our list of top scorers in Liguillas. And Bruneta is 6 away from Córdoba. Now, last but not least, we obviously had the celebration of the 500th game for Nahuel Guzman in Tigres history, which I think it was in the away game, right, against Necaxa. He had his 500 game, and then, or was that in this game at home?
I already forgot.
No, it was the away game.
Okay.
It wasn't the away game, right? So with this game at home now, it's 501, right?
Yeah.
But so he goes obviously into the vault for us, and he's also going to be playing, or he also played basically his 78th Liguilla match. So within those games, he's had 33 wins, now 24 draws, and only 20 defeats, with 78 goals received. And in 29 of the games in Liguilla, he's been able to have keep his score 0, his goal in 0, so shutouts. So just impressive numbers from Nahuel Guzman throughout his time at Tigres.
And if
Shout out to the 1978 Liguilla team that was the first ever Liguilla team for Tigres, and that would end up, they won the series in 78 on May 13th against Tecos de la Universidad Autónoma de Guadalajara, that's no longer around. But that ended up being the championship team that won the first league cup for us. So shout out to them too.
another throwback from Threedger. Tigres versus Toluca when Damian scored the goal that sent us to Libertadores.
Oh,
Was
good
that
shout.
around? Was that around this time?
That was a good
Okay, interesting.
Could have been, but I mean, it fits this week
It
since
is
we're
true.
facing
That
Toluca.
is true. Yeah, that is true. Speaking of shout outs, let's end on a good note. Shout out the under 19s for winning their league championship over the weekend. Good for them. Good for those boys. They dominated that second game, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly.
That first one too, they
Yeah.
completely wrecked Toluca.
Heck yeah. So good.
I think on the first one they won like 1-0, and then on the second game they scored like 4 or 5. Yeah.
Whatever it was. They won the championship, which is good because the last time we had a Fuerzas Básicas championship or final, it was last season and they got walloped. It was the U23s, right, that were in the final recently.
Yeah.
So nice that the U19s were able to kind of get some redemption there and win us that. So kudos to them as well. Anything else? Are we good?
I think there's daylight over there with Woodsy. What time is it, Woodsy?
You're right. It's 5 a.m., mate, and obviously it's summertime, so yeah, might have to take a quick walk out, mate.
I don't blame you one bit.
Walk the dog.
I blame this on Lou. He was the one talking about, this is not going to be 2 hours. Yeah, vamos a 2 horas ya casi.
I jinxed it, dude. I was like, man, we're gonna make a short pot out of it.
No, hombre, para nada, cortito para nada.
But it was a good combo, though. It was good stuff. We had a little bit of everything in it.
Yeah, exactly.
He just wanted to glance at the British sun through my camera. That's all he wanted. I see you there, Lou.
Yeah, man, it's lovely, bro. I'm kind of envious, actually.
He actually, yeah. I mean, you look better in the sunlight, man. You're shining.
Yeah, man.
Oh, cheers, Alfred, mate. It's almost like you said that just to please me.
No need.
That's a great way to end it. If you're here watching live still with us, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. Drieger, thanks for holding it down in the chat tonight. Literally, you were the only one. We want more of you in the chat, though. So next time we record next week, come hang out in the chat with us. It goes a long way. If you're listening on podcast, thanks for being here. Don't forget, share, subscribe, follow, do all the things. You can follow each of us on social media. If you're watching right now, it's on the screen. All of our handles are on the screen, on Twitter at least. Or if you're listening on podcast later, you can check out the show notes to find our handles. We will be back definitely some point next week, either talking about the end of the season or previewing a final. Hopefully it is the latter. We definitely won't do a post game on tomorrow because the game is stupid late. Like I'm not doing a post game at midnight. It's just not happening. Depending on how things go on Saturday, maybe we do a post game then. So check Twitter. Keep your eyes peeled.
But could be good content.
Yeah, if you're on YouTube, genuinely subscribe for that reason, so that way you know when we're about to like get started with a post game show. So that goes a long way. But we'll keep you guys updated on that if we get to that point. So hopefully we're in the good enough circumstances to have that, obviously. So thanks for being here, fellas. Thanks for being here as well. And we will see y'all over the next week or so. Arriba la U. Peace out.
Peace.